I'm just getting
Hey,
caught up.
everybody. Sorry, you just started.
That's all right.
Mike Opera here with podcastcondition.com, bringing you episode 126 of What You Drinking. We've been going long and strong on this. I can't believe 126 episodes. Every time I look at the number, I'm like, that's a lot of hours, man. A lot of hours talking about beer.
Yeah, but it's been spread out over a couple of years. So.
It's true. It's still like 126 hours at least, if not more, because some of these episodes go a little longer. So that's a lot of hours.
Yes, it is.
A lot of Wednesday nights. So cool. What? How you doing?
I am just nuts. Everything is.
I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, everything is exploding this week. It sounds like your week has been having a lot of stuff going on too. So, I mean, some of it has been beer. Most of it hasn't. For me. So, but you have some good news to share, I know. So I don't know if you want to wait for other people to show up on the hangout tonight first, but
No, I think a couple other guys know about it. I know Kevin and Mike know about it. Ronnie and Mike's wife are good friends, best friends. So they talk. So yeah,
right.
we in about 2 months we'll be closing on a house and we'll be broadcasting from a new studio, not my bedroom, as I have been in the past, and I won't be next door to my sleeping infant. So it'll be nice to have, a finished basement, an office, a couple extra bedrooms. It's going to be nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we put an offer in Monday night. We saw the house on Sunday. We really, it's perfect for us. So we put an offer in Monday night. We got countered on Tuesday morning. We countered back Tuesday afternoon, and so we settled on what our last counter was, and it was good. It's an interesting process and everything. We got an inspection on Friday and all that boring stuff you don't need to be bothered with. But yeah, we're very happy. It's got all the space that we need, and like I said, I'll have a nice little studio area, quiet spot for me to do these shows. And like I've been wanting to do since probably November. I've got all the equipment to do it, but I want to do an audio podcast. A totally separate show, so really want to do that. So this will enable that to happen. So it's exciting.
That's awesome. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. I say we drink to it.
I need to get something to drink with. Hold on a second, because I just literally got set up.
I'll introduce the style while you're gone. So everybody, we decided last episode we're going to we spun the wheel and we're going to do Goses. Which is an old style that actually kind of died for a while. It disappeared, and it's an old German style, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna try to look that up and kind of get the specifics on it. But it's an interesting style that just started coming back the last couple of years, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. It includes salt in the beer, so it's an interesting little additive to a style that hasn't been around for a while. So I was just going over what style we landed on the last time we had an episode. So we're doing Goses. Were you able to grab one yourself?
No, I was not. So I'm bringing something a little bit different, but I don't know. Nah, it's probably not even the same zip code, but it's it's by a brewery that would that kind of beer. So why don't you go ahead first?
So the style it's an interesting one. Like I was saying, it's a German style that kind of went dormant for a while, and it just started coming back, and it's usually kind of like a lemon tartness to it. I think coriander's usually an ingredient, but salt is definitely one of them. The style ranges. The ABV ranges, I should say, in the style at about 4.2 to 4.8. I don't know if the one I've got is following that, but let's see. This is it's a 5.1. So the one I went with is Ruby's Tears from Mars Brewing.
Yeah, I would have probably gotten that one if I'd gotten one.
Yeah,
that's a great beer.
Yeah, I mean, they're all over now. There's so many of them out there. 6 Point has one out now. I saw a ton to choose from, but I've had this one before and it's really good. And I was almost tempted to go with the original. I forget the name of it, but it was one that Dan from the store I usually go to. He recommended. He's like, yeah, this is the original. But I didn't grab it. I should have, but I already had this one in the fridge, so I said I'll hang on to it. It's a beautiful beer. It's nice and clear.
Yep.
Crisp lager. You could smell like the lemoniness. That's pretty much the dominant smell that I'm getting out of this.
Nice.
But it is so interesting. The salt and the tartness of this style is so. It's interesting, but it's so good. Like I just had a La Folie last night, the sour brown ale.
Oh yeah, that's a nice beer.
It is such a good beer, and what's nice about that is it's year round now. You know, you can pretty much get that anywhere. You know, at least in the Midwest. I don't know about other markets, of course, but we're pretty fortunate to have that available to us at all times. And my wife and I were both. We were pretty much enjoying that glass for about an hour or so. So I'm into the sours lately these days, but this one's interesting and I'm enjoying it. So I'm gonna probably go through this one pretty quickly. What do you got there?
Well, I'm kind of looking up what the style is because it doesn't really say on the can. But what I got, that's called a general rye beer, was Brewery Vivant Pepper in the Rye, and it was intriguing because the store by our house actually just did a tasting for Lash. They're the craft beer store in Libertyville. I've talked about them before. They have not only 6-packs that you can make a mix of 6, but they also have the 4-pack beers that they'll frequently do a mix of 6 for, or mix of 4, I should say. So I got a mix of 4. I got a couple of what was it? The Hyper Predators from Off Color, which you got my texts about that. Coffee and
much of a fan.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just didn't think that it was the right mix of flavors. I just didn't think coffee went with that funk. And it was funky. That is one funky beer. And it didn't taste like it would be a bad beer on its own, but the coffee just...
I wonder what kind of coffee they use, because there is funky coffee too. There's like, you can get all sorts of flavors out of different styles of coffee. So I'm just curious. Did they mention that at all, where the coffee came from? Like, who is it, Dark Matter or anyone from Chicago?
If you keep on talking, I can check the bottle. It's right in the fridge behind me. Hold on a second.
The coffee beers are pretty good. I know there's one from Founders that just came out. I know Chris from Liquid Mr. Liquid Bread did he did a post on Google Plus on a beer from Founders that had coffee in it. It's like a newer one that just came out. It's in 4-packs. I saw it at the store today or yesterday and almost got it, but I think I had enough in the fridge already to not be able to justify it. So I didn't get it, but I'm definitely going to try that one before it runs out. Do you know which one I'm talking about as far as the Founders beer, Dan?
Is it the Sumatra?
Yeah.
I actually have a 4-pack of that. Is that a good one, did he say?
He said it was coffee, basically.
Awesome. That's what I was hoping.
Yeah, so I really want to try that one.
Yeah, that might be my next beer after this Pepper in the Rye by Brewery Vivant. But it's a coffee farmhouse ale. Here's the label. This is Hyper Predator. So this is the one we're talking about as far as the funky coffee goes. And all it says is that it is. It's Metric Coffee Company. The secret ingredient, it's cold pressed Abeba Jeanette Ethiopian coffee. So Metric Coffee is the name of the beanster, or the what would you call it? I guess they're not a maltster; they would be a roaster, the coffee roaster involved. And it wasn't for me. That doesn't mean it's not for someone else.
Yeah, I'd love to try that. What? Yeah. And it's a saison with coffee.
It's a farmhouse ale. It's the hops are Crystal and Sterling, malts are Pills, flaked wheat, and honey malt. which is one of the lower roasted caramel malts.
Sounds like a saison to me.
Yeah, it's pretty damn near the same thing. It's probably a matter of what
isn't a saison considered a farmhouse ale? Isn't it the same thing?
Yeah, they're different styles, and it's the yeast strain involved. There is a farmhouse ale yeast, and there are a couple of different saison yeasts. There's a French saison yeast and a Belgian saison yeast, and the main difference is that they ferment at slightly different temperatures. I think the French yeast you can actually ferment a little cooler, and it's not a problem because they normally ferment high at 80 degrees and better, 85 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this is tasty. Well, let's see, what does it say about it? It is great friends, great food, great beer. Relaxing at a meal together is the best part of our day. This beer is made for enhancing that. The flaked rye lends an earthy spiciness, and the addition of green peppercorns into the boil kettle give a ping of peppery notes, which we'll see. I didn't get a ping of peppery notes there, but I wasn't paying attention. Okay, yeah, I get a little bit. It's good.
So for anyone outside of the market, Brewery of Vaughn is out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, or the Grand Rapids area. Are they in Grand Rapids or just outside?
No, they're in the city proper, and yeah, they're definitely specializing in the kinds of beers. Actually, I guess Gose wouldn't really be their specialty because that's more German. They're more Belgian and French on that trajectory. Great place to go. Definitely recommend it.
Brandon's like, I'm not joining because I don't have a Gose. I'm like, that doesn't matter.
Get on here. I thought that he was completely going off of.
I saw that. I don't know what the reason is behind that though. But I get it. If you kind of get tired, I'm sure you get tired of doing the show every once in a while, or you get tired of always having to do something. I still enjoy it. I haven't gotten tired of it or anything yet, but I can see it. I can see where that happens, where you gotta just take a break. I mean,
yeah,
obviously we had that month off, an unintentional month off, mind you, but it was, who knows, it could have been needed, it might have been what I need to keep, doing this every week. So I get it.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. Especially if, not even burning out so much, but you just get to that point where if you don't take care of business in other ends and this becomes the focus, then, that's not healthy. So it's going to happen especially when you have a child.
Yeah. Dude, I have very little control of my schedule anymore at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon wants me to send the invite. So let me see if this works.
Woohoo.
I don't know if this works anymore. I haven't tried this invitation posting thing in a long time.
That's a pretty beer.
Yeah, it is cool. So what's the style with that one?
They're just calling it a rye beer. So I don't know if that would qualify as an American rye beer or what, but it's got peppercorns in it, green peppercorns. Oh, I like the Cubs logo. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, I retired from talking about beer and live hangouts. How about those Cubs? I can't talk about beer. I just can't do it because I
can't talk about Cubs.
I can talk about both.
Well, I guess I can talk about beer then. How's everybody doing?
Let's talk about the Blackhawks. How about that?
There you go. That'll work.
Yeah, I'm having an Andy Gator right now out of the bottle because I'm just too lazy to pour into a glass. And there you go.
Nice.
Abita. Pretty much it's they're Helles Doppelbock, new labels in the last year, so yeah, that's why it's not recognizable.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen that one in our market. We get a Abita.
Really?
But I don't remember that one. I don't even remember the name.
Yeah, what style is that?
He's
Helles Doppelbock.
Oh, that's right. You just said Helles Doppelbock. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen like their APA. I've seen like their Purple Passion. I think they have up here.
Purple Haze.
Yeah.
No, Purple Haze. There you go.
Yep. They got Purple Haze now too. So yeah.
Purple Nurple.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, man. I saw that you were kind of taking a break for this. Were you taking a break from reviewing, or just doing the shows like this, or what was the?
Doing shows like this mostly because I just got tired of doing them. I've been doing them for years off and on, and after a while, it's just at some point I can only say so much about beer.
Yeah.
I get it. And we were just saying that too, because we were discussing how we saw that post of yours, and we were like, after doing this for so many years, I could see where you kind of need to take a break or step away from it. But appreciate you jumping on.
I kind of understand, because the big blow up years ago was with Chad's beer reviews, when he finally just decided he was going to stop the reviews, and he finally started doing reviews again. But he said just after a while, it's just, what can you say about it?
Yeah.
I'm definitely over beer reviews online. I think there's enough of them out there where that's not, you can everyone's gonna have a different opinion first of all too. So what one guy says in a review might not reflect what you think about the beer. But I like doing this because it's more of a hangout where we're just talking about what's going on in the beer world, which changes, pretty often, and we could talk about what we think about that stuff. Coming to mind, a story that, to me, seems pretty stupid and irrelevant. And apparently everyone's talking about it. It's all over the internet. It's all over the news. Why did Budweiser change the name of their beer for the next 6 months or whatever to America? Did you guys hear about this?
Yeah, I did, and all I know is I want to get the 40-ounce version for my collection.
Yeah,
I've got the America 40-ounce, baby.
That's right. 40 ounces of America.
What's funny is, isn't this a Belgian-owned company? Why are people don't know this? They just drives me nuts.
You did see that that meme? Someone had made a meme where they basically photoshopped Belgium over the can and said, "Here, AB InBev, I fixed it for you."
That's funny.
That's totally true. I mean, come on.
But it's such a gimmick. Who cares?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you changing the name of your beer? Obviously, exactly what Brandon said. They're gonna buy the beer to put the can in their collection, and that's about it.
Yeah.
The beer's not changing. It's not making me buy it. It's
Right. Yeah. The thing is, especially with and I don't know what the deal is with it, but the thing is, back in the day, the old school commercial for Budweiser was just you had someone just high class touting the beer and stuff like that. This was a higher quality beer. I mean, that's what they were really just. It was cool. Budweiser was cool. That was the sort of stuff they were trying to do with it. And then ownership change. You started having those whole Budweiser type commercials. So that's just ridiculous. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just I mean, you've got a beer, and you were marketing it a certain way for so long, and at the time, it was still one of the top beers in the market. So why did you choose to market it in such a way that just made the beer a joke? But I guess that's why it ended up being bought by a Belgian company. Anheuser-Busch got bought by a Belgian company, was because, well, they just didn't know how to market their beer, or at least Budweiser at the time. I mean, by the time Bud Light was still selling a lot, even when InBev bought them.
Yeah.
But it was just a lot of mismanagement was being taken place at the top of the company, with just company planes to take employees to places where really was not necessary, and spending way too much money on ingredients for just all little things, company cars, company planes. It was just a lot of corporate waste at the top was why it actually got bought out. It had nothing to do with how the beer was marketed, because actually the beer was doing pretty fine as far as sales go. Budweiser was, even though it's not.
I think those commercials were probably pretty successful. I don't think. I mean, even as a kid, I remember those commercials, and I didn't drink beer, but damn, I love those commercials. Everyone was doing that. It's like, what's up? All those stupid commercials.
Oh God, that one I forgot about.
It was more for it's more like for that, it's more or less just the Whatcha thing was just like a few years later what I'm Rick James, bitch, was, and you weren't really thinking about the context of what it came from. It's just, oh, it's funny, let's repeat it.
Right.
It didn't sell more beer for him.
But you know what's weird though, and I was just reading about this actually today because working for Brett W. Losh Beverages up here in Lake County, I get their feed there on their Facebook page, and somebody interviewed Fred Jr. today, or a couple of days ago, and they just posted it, and he made an interesting comment about companies and marketing, and he looked at Budweiser and he compared it to the company that owns Corona. And he said, you know, these are two. If you look at Budweiser's marketing over time, they've just been schizophrenic as hell. You know, they've been pulling out every circus trick they could, from, you know, Spuds McKenzie puppy dogs to frogs to Whatcha. But if you look at Corona, it has been the same marketing message for decades now. It's sort of like, you know, Corona is your beach. You know, this is your personal beach. This is your oasis beer. This is, you know, this is spring break in a bottle. That has always kind of been the message of that beer, and they've never varied from it. But it's been highly successful. As a matter of fact, that brand, I think, is fast becoming the most successful beer brand in the United States.
That's very true. And like that's a big part of it. Just again, it's one of those things where it's just what are you trying to approach? Where you look at what the Modelo Group was trying to approach their market, they didn't change it. Whereas Budweiser, at least Anheuser-Busch, was marketing Budweiser kind of. They just didn't know what to do. Like I said, schizophrenic, almost lowest common denominator in a sense. There's just there's like, for example, when we did that. Remember when we did the malt liquor episode? Was it a year or so ago? Yeah, but a lot of the marketing for that is just where a lot of people don't even want to try those beers just because of how they're marketed. But that's unfair. I do believe every beer should be judged by its own merits. But that being said, marketing will have a lot to do with how people perceive a certain brand. If this brand is being marketed, oh, this brand's a joke, yeah, I might quote the commercials, but why would I want to go buy their beer?
Right.
Yeah, but that doesn't that might be you, but that might not be the non you know, the person who doesn't know who makes the beer and who, you know, if they see a commercial, unfortunately people will go buy that beer.
Well, yeah, I mean,
sometimes it does stick in their mind. I agree with you, and it doesn't make a difference to me. It doesn't make a difference to you, maybe, but there are people that are less intelligent, and they're susceptible to falling into, you know, advertising, and we all do it to a certain extent. You can't really escape it; it's everywhere. But you know, there's certain points where you kind of acknowledge, like, this is a bullshit ad. Like, I understand what's being shoved in my face, but
yeah. I say as somebody who likes Budweiser and drinks Budweiser, where watch those commercials back in the day. I mean, now, of course, I'm a Budweiser drinker now. Back then, when those commercials were coming around, I wasn't drinking beer. But if I had seen those commercials back then, you know, it's like that would have really inspired me to go out and get a Budweiser at all. I mean, just one of those things. It's just, yeah, I know Budweiser's a beer that's out there. Every now and again, I get a craving for it. I get a 6-pack of Tall Boys or 40, and I'm done with it for a while. But that's just my perspective there. And some others that, you know, there's others out there who do drink Budweiser who just didn't like the marketing as it was going on back then. I don't know how well it did with getting new drinkers out there. I mean, certainly I think some of the marketing has improved to a degree in recent years, excluding that Super Bowl ad, which did cause, let's not even get into that because that's not something I want to get into a live hangout. But yeah, you do get the point. Just that was a bit of an aberration, but overall their marketing had been improving for Budweiser in years. But by that point, that a lot of that ship had already sailed, where a lot of America had gone over to light beer, where the Bud Light brand sells a lot. And it's like, yeah, you really don't have to do much to even advertise that. Yeah, you advertise it, but yeah, really it's going to sell itself. Miller Lite's going to sell. Coors Light's going to sell itself these days because that's pretty big. But the Budweiser brand, they've had to really work pretty hard to recover because even PBR has recovered to an extent. Not as much as, say, some of the others, but PBR has recovered from where it was a very cheap beer, where now you start seeing it's being priced a little bit more. And then, Budweiser's still priced premium, but, I mean, that's still being said. It's still one of the biggest selling beers in America, but nowhere near what it used to be.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of issue, actually, with either Kevin about the Super Bowl advertising being an aberration. I don't think that was, in the sense that if you look at the current marketing, it's still kind of playing off of the themes from that initial one, at least slightly. It's the beer that's hard to make. This is the blue collar beer. This is not a sipping beer. This is not a beer that you're pairing with anything other than cheeseburgers and cookouts. And then the final kind of cherry on the top, naming it America. It seems pretty clear what the direction of this marketing campaign is. Yeah. This is America. Here, this is tough fighting, hard working, blue collar America. And screw those hoity-toity craft beer swilling wannabes who think they know it all and blah 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 blah. And I don't think that they're doing that anymore, where they're not giving a punch to the jewels to craft beer directly anymore, but they're building on that theme of sort of like, we're nothing like that. Those posers over there, they're just a bunch of knotheads who, have giant beards and, and talk about how this beer has, tastes like a hint of rye with mint and, Astroglide. So.
And I just throw it out there, if you taste Astroglide in your beer, there's probably a mistake that happened.
Yeah, you probably have a problem there, but you know exactly what I'm saying.
Flavors of Astroglide, you have a problem. You guys are missing the point.
Not there's anything wrong with that.
But you see what I'm saying? I mean, that's totally what they're going after. Sort of like, we're nothing like those guys. Just those assholes can go on being beer assholes, and we'll just enjoy our beer and screw them.
Now, don't think that I'm defending them at all, but don't they have a point? A little bit of a point.
Yeah, oh, they absolutely do.
Because
absolutely,
I myself, I consider myself a beer geek, not a beer snob, because there's a huge difference. When you've got people who look down upon anyone who doesn't, try any other beers other than, the most hard to find whales and all this stuff, or anyone who like posts on Facebook or Google Plus or anything on the internet, Instagram, of like, whales and talk shit about anyone else who drinks like anything just regular, anything being a snob. It's really the beer industry. If you think about it, the commercial side of it, the actual creators of beer, they're actually pretty friendly amongst each other, including the big guys. Like, they respect Budweiser and they respect Miller, but what they've done all through the 90s and early 2000s is push like it's us against them. They're the assholes because big is bad, and that's kind of backfiring because now you've created an entire consumer base that is a bunch of snobs and talk shit about anything big. If a brewery gets too big, even if it's a craft brewery like Sam Adams is not, it's a perfect example. I'm sorry, that is a craft beer brewery, and it's one that has been not recognized as such for a very long time because they're on TV with commercials and because they, they're a publicly traded company, and it's something that isn't fair and it's not valid, but people have this conception because of what the craft beer industry has been kind of pushing on the consumer, and it's really the internet people that I read a great article on beer snobs and what how that's kind of ruining the industry, where it's almost like adopting the wine snob mentality of this, and we're not. And that's one of the reasons why the audio podcast I want to do that I mentioned earlier today, Dan, it's not going to, it's going to involve beer, of course, but it's going to be so much more fun instead of dissecting beers and what you think. And, it may include a small bit of that, but beer's supposed to be fun. And it's not, it's not supposed to be overanalyzed, I don't think. It's good to appreciate what people put into this when they make a very complex beer, and it's great to talk about it, but it's not meant to shit on another beer that maybe not as complex, but it's still pretty damn good. And for what you should be doing, you should just be enjoying the beer, not making others feel stupid or feel bad about what they like. And it's because beer is, it's all what you think, and it's all opinionated, and it's not, everyone's taste buds aren't the same, so what you like might not be someone else's, and you shouldn't be talking shit about somebody who doesn't agree with you.
But it's interesting that you brought up Sam Adams as a kind of an example of a brewery that people don't perceive as being a craft brewery anywhere, because if you look at the rhetoric coming out of Jim Koch's mouth in the 90s and the early 2000s, he was one of the biggest flag-waving fanboys and progenitors of that movement of, hey, we're not big beer sucks, they're the big guys, screw them. He was leading that charge, and it's funny because he's gotten so big that I think that's come back to bite him in the ass, because people take a look at them, the thousands and thousands of barrels, I don't know if he's up to millions yet, but he's got to be damn close, of barrels of beer he produces a year, and they go, hey, who's big beer now, Jim? And it's funny too, because in building up that perception of what craft beer culture was, he kind of set the tone for the way that the AHA, I'm sorry, not the AHA, the BA, the Brewers Association, classified craft beer. And as craft beer succeeded and as he's gotten bigger, they've had to really kind of do end runarounds and somersaults over their own rhetoric about what defines craft beer. And which gets you to that point where you have these people who are suing a brewery in, I forget which brewery they're suing in California, and get shot down because there is no formal definition of craft beer. So you can't go after someone and say, you're a poser. Oh, it was Coors. That's right. It was over Blue Moon. You can't have someone say, this says craft on the label. It's not craft, because guess what? There really is no technically craft beer as a viable legal definition on the planet.
Is it there though? Maybe not legally. Maybe not legally, but I think the Brewers Association has a definition based on size. But
yeah, well, based on a number of different factors. But again, that definition has changed significantly over time.
The Brewers Association also doesn't write the laws of the United States.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. It's not like we're talking about regionally recognized designations like you would have in Germany, like Berliner Weiss. If it has to be made in Berlin to be called Berliner Weiss, or say for an Oktoberfest beer to actually be called Oktoberfest beer, it has to be brewed in Munich, or for a Kolsch, it has to be brewed in Cologne, Germany. And just all those little distinctions that they have, those are codified by a law. So if you're in Germany, you try to do that, you're not in that region, yeah, they can slap you hard. But here in the United States, no one cares. Hey, you call an Oktoberfest beer, no one cares. You call it a Kolsch, no one cares. Berliner Weiss, sure, go ahead. So I mean, we can have our cake and eat it too there, even though there are some out there that they're the beer snobs in the other direction that will go absolutely purist. Those do exist. They do. I've seen them before. If we want to have our cake and eat it too there, then we really shouldn't get annoyed that Coors wants to throw craft beer on the craft beer label for Blue Moon, because, well, let's face it. I mean, a lot of those breweries are making beers that you don't see a lot of anymore anyway. Like a lot of these breweries, the big breweries, they were brewing Bock beers because they were based on German recipes, and Bock was a seasonal beer. They were brewing Bock beer. One you still see around is Shiner Bock. You don't really see the other Bocks around anymore, but well, I mean, now it's becoming more common to see box with craft breweries, but you get the point.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were brewing different beers other than the pale lager or the American style pale lager, or even before they started with the light lager. Yeah, do they have? I mean, Ballantines IPA is a pretty good example.
Oh, and that's
I mean,
back now. Yeah.
It's back now, but it's
Right.
still a good example. So yeah, it was out there, but you're right. That whole mentality of us versus them really did kind of start in the '90s, and it's really coming back to just kind of bite you because, well, I always think back to what Lemmy said, and
Yes.
he had a fan that just this was before Motorhead got big at the record deal and said, "Oh, you sold out, you got the record deal," and Lemmy says, "What do you think we're doing? We want to do this for free?"
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same idea. Right. Can I fault Jim Cook for getting big? No. I mean, the Boston Beer Company was successful for a lot of reasons. It continues to be successful for a lot of reasons. And I don't care what anybody says about entry-level beer because that's the wrong idea. Because you know what? If it's a good beer, it's a good beer. And you know what? We might disagree on what makes a good beer. And you know what? That's fine. I'm not telling anybody they have to like Sam Adams Boston Lager or Sierra Nevada Pale Ale or anything like that, which those are really solid beers. Heck, I might even tell anybody they have to like Schlitz Malt Liquor, which I also like. Right. But it's a matter of really just saying, hey, look, let's just lighten up a little, okay?
Yeah, yep. I think that's great. And going back to Jim Cook and Sam Adams, the podcast I probably bring up once every other episode is Good Beer Hunting. It's recorded here in Chicago. They did an amazing interview with Jim Cook.
Oh, I never read or I never listened to that one. I got to listen to that.
I'm about to listen to it a second time because he's such a likable guy. First of all, mm-hmm. I just saw the old episode of Brew Dogs from the first season where they were in Boston, and you just watch that guy and you're like, he's living life, he's loving life, he is doing what he loves, and he tells the story of getting started because he was promoting a book that he just released not too long ago. I just started reading it a little bit called Quench Your Own Thirst. And I've only gone through like maybe the first 10 pages while I was trying to go to bed the other night, and he's telling the story about how he had another job. He had a good job, an office position somewhere. I forget what industry he was in. I can't remember what it was, to be honest. But anyways, he went up to his dad and said, "Hey, we got brewers in the family, in our blood. You were a brewer. Grandpa was a brewer. His dad was a brewer. I want to open a brewery." And he's like, "Don't do it. What are you talking about?" He's like. There's a couple breweries on the West Coast that are kind of doing this new thing. They're kind of deviating from, the big major companies, and they're just going to gobble you up. And he's trying to convince his dad that this is a good idea. And finally his dad breaks down, goes in the attic, and brings him up there, brings out the old family recipe and says, "This is, if you're going to make a beer, to do it with this one." So that was the Boston Lager recipe, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a cool story, and he took a huge leap. Back when craft beer wasn't even craft beer, it was microbrew, which is kind of a funny term that doesn't exist anymore. But that was considered what we would say is craft back in the day, and I've been on their tour there in Boston. It's solid. It's a lot of fun. It's awesome history, and we lost Dan.
Oops.
And Dan was bored with my conversation. I guess either that or he was so excited he had to go listen to that episode of Good Beer Hunting.
I guess.
But yeah, I that's the thing that drives me nuts about the beer industry. It's not the breweries, and it's not. Hey, I thought you were just bored with what I was talking about.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I was going to mute the mic. I was like, "Whoops, that was the wrong button." I was just going to step away, and I was going to pull out the here out. This is what I was going to do.
It was really awkward.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so it's an industry of beer snobs that have been kind of created by by the earlier days of pushing against the bigger craft breweries, and it's kind of come back to bite them because there's a lot of breweries now that are expanding to the point where they are the new big guys. Stone is huge. Stone is in Germany. Stone is got a couple, 2 or 3 locations in California. I know that they're moving to Ohio too, aren't they? Is that where they decided on a couple of years ago?
I know Brewdogs is out there.
Brewdogs is as well. Maybe that's who I was thinking of. Stone might have done North Carolina. Like, is Oscar Blues that's doing them?
I know that they're out south, southeast. I forget which. They're like one of the Mid-Atlantic states, maybe. Oh my God! I just sorry, just to kind of interject. That's the beer that Chris was talking about, and I mean, just putting your schnoot in there, that is coffee all over the place. This is gonna be yummy.
Yeah, I almost picked that one up.
Oh, yeah, I got some. Oh, just the head is good. Oh my God. Wait, did that come out right?
Whoa! Yeah, I just had a Jody moment there. It was
Hello.
Have you been on his show in a while?
It's been a while. I heard Dan say that. I said, "Oh, your head is so good, Jody. Would have just lost it."
So let's dial it back to some stories that are going on. I saw that a beer museum could open up in Chicago with a brew pub on the rooftop.
Huh.
There's a brew pub where visitors would dine on food and craft beer from around the globe as part of the plans for Chicago Brewseum, a yet-to-be-funded project with the likes of Goose Island Brewing Company founder John Hall and Chicago History Museum's Dan Oliver on board. Organizers want to break ground on the project in 2019. Liz Garibay on History on Tap brainstormed the idea for a beer museum in Chicago back in 2013. Beer is more than a drink, it's a driving force. Blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
So let's see. There's also taking advantage of the growth in Chicago beer culture, including the rising number of breweries opening within the city limits. So yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to see if that happens. I honestly, I thought that was happening in like Ohio somewhere, like Cleveland. I thought was going to get a beer museum. I don't know. If
Yeah.
didn't take place, but that was like a couple of years ago.
So
yeah, I saw that. I thought that was interesting. Anything else going on in the beer world that you saw, Dan or Brandon? Anybody?
Well, I mean, not to stay purely Chicago, but we were talking about the whole Finch's shake-up.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well, Finch's it's been an interesting brand. It was easier, just to kind of give you an idea of where this is headed. Last year, I was in the Outer Banks in North Carolina, and it was easier to find Finch's beer in the Outer Banks than it was to find in the Chicago market.
Mm-hmm.
And this really became a problem for the brand and for the people who own the brand. And so the directors decided that they were going to ask Mr. Finch to step down. I think that may have been the polite way of putting it. I'm not sure what happened behind the scenes. But this was very obviously after that problem with it being a national brand more than a Chicago brand. Them talking about moving to a riverfront Chicago brewery that never materialized.
Never happened.
They tried to open up in Long Grove, which is actually just down the road from me, and they had huge problems because they were able to secure a space, but it turned out that the water access that they had there was terrible for beer. I mean, it was just awful water. So that folded. So after a couple of, of times where someone had steered the ship into rocks, they asked this guy to I'm guessing, to kind of move over and join as a board member only, and they bought Break Room Brewing, which is in the city, which is doing fine. It's a brew pub. They make decent beer, and they also bought Hypothesis. I think it was. Was it Hypothesis?
I think it's Hopthesis.
Hopthesis. Okay. Not okay.
No, you're right. It's Hypothesis. You're right.
Yeah, I think they were riffing off of Hypothesis, which is an interesting brand because they're a Chicago company, Chicago guys, but they want purely contract brewing from the start, and so they've been getting beers out of Minhas in Monroe, Wisconsin, ever since their inception, which is about 2-3 years ago. So they decided to bring all these kind of struggling brands and a moderately successful, I wouldn't say it was a huge success, break room. I mean, it's a nice space. It's a beautiful space, but the beer is merely kind of beer.
Yeah, it was all right. The food was great there.
Yeah. But if you're going to be hanging your hat on your beer, you better make good beer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't have anything bad, but I didn't have anything spectacular. I thought their IPA was decent. So Finch is actually changing from Finch's to just Finch Beer Company.
Correct. So he's no longer it's no longer his with that possessive.
Yeah.
And so they're really going to focus on Chicago as the market of choice, and try to reestablish their brands, bring in Hypothesis as another product line within the brand, or maybe a brand of its own within the company. And so it's going to be interesting.
It'll still be called Hypothesis, but sold through Finch?
That's a good question. It's unclear to me at this point. I think what it's going to do, at least at first, is it's going to dissolve the Minhas Association, because now they'll have brewing facilities to do the Hypothesis beers here. And then I think it'll be a shakeup, because I think they're trying to figure out what are going to be the best beers to sell. If maybe Hypothesis becomes a IPA line, I could see that being a possibility, or hop forward beers.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, it's something that has worked in the past. I've been to if you go to Traverse City in Michigan, they've got North Peak Brewing, which is primarily a restaurant with a brew pub, and it's a brew pub, so it's got a restaurant in it with fantastic food, and they have their own beers. But through them, they're somehow aligned with or associated with Jolly Pumpkin, because if you go there, there's Jolly Pumpkin beers there. Every time I go there, there's you could buy them to go. So there's some sort of association there that I have never looked into to see exactly how that works, but it sounds like something that they might be trying similarly with what they're combining in the old break room space. But it is interesting. I haven't had Finch beer in a long time, and it's between that and I think we mentioned on the show last episode, but I don't know if you were here. Did you know Atlas is changing their name? They lost their rights to their name.
Right, they're like Burning City Brewing now.
I think Burnt City.
Or Burnt City, that's it.
So that's interesting. Let me see if there was anything else that I saw. I was saving a bunch of stories throughout the week or so to see. Basically, tomorrow starts the kickoff for Chicago Craft Beer Week.
Right.
That's something I'm excited about. It always starts off with Beer Under Glass, which I'm going to be meeting up with Kevin at this year. Really excited. There's supposed to be I saw Justin Maynard, who's what is his position with the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild?
He's like the rector or president or something.
Yeah,
like
executive director, I think, is his title.
Okay.
He was just on Chicago Beer Pass talking about the events and everything, and they were saying there's supposed to be some sort of a special tent this year with really special beers. I don't know if it was barrel aged or if it was specific. I don't know the details, but they're supposed to have something new and something that they've never had before there. So I'm excited, but like you said last week when you were looking at the app, I checked it yesterday, and there's no other events listed on that app other than Beer Under Glass and then the ending event at what is it called?
Oh, Wells Park.
Wells Park. Thank you. I didn't see any other events listed. If you go to the website for the Chicago Craft Beer Week, there's tons of events listed, and there's so much going on in Chicago, in the suburbs. It's blowing out all over the place. It's crazy.
No, actually, I did pull up the app again relatively recently. I think they finally did get other events up. Finally. I mean, well, not I say finally because it was like a couple of days after I looked. But yeah, that was weird to only be a week out and be like, huh. That's it?
I literally checked it yesterday, and I had no event
really?
than those two. So I'll check that, but yeah, I see nothing here. Just those
the only
two.
thing I can think is that, because, okay, there's the app.
Yep.
And let's see here.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Yep, they all just popped up.
Yeah.
They were.
No, it was relatively recent.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice because it's like, yeah, guys, it's tomorrow.
I had this downloaded, I think, yesterday, and I had nothing but those two. So, so I don't know if you've ever heard about it, Brandon. It's a cool event, Beer Under Glass, where they have a conservatory here in Garfield Park in Chicago, and it's a beautiful venue. It's just plants and flowers in the conservatory, and so there's beer vendors all over inside, and there's food everywhere, and amazing food, by the way. And I would say there's probably I don't know how many breweries were there last year. Was it 60?
That sounds about right.
I don't know the number this year, but it gets bigger every year. And there's breweries out there too, so it's a beautiful event, if weather permits, to enjoy.
I was going to say, this year it sounds like it'll cooperate.
I'm glad to hear that. They were talking about having those shoe covers at the door again in case there's rain.
Yeah, which, of course, are of absolutely no use whatsoever.
My socks were black with mud. I mean, through my shoes, it was a muddy mess.
Yeah.
But this.
I mean, tomorrow they're looking at 68 and clear, at least up in Libertyville. It might be a little cooler there because you're closer to the lake, but I think it'll be fine.
I'll take it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that'll be nice, and I'm hoping Shorts makes an appearance at this one this year because they're in Chicago, because it's not always Chicago based. I know Founders was there last year. There's a whole bunch of other states that appear.
Nice.
Yeah, actually, this week is American Craft Beer Week, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Kind of coincides, yeah.
So, is there anything that's going down where you are, Brandon?
Not that I've paid attention to. I haven't really paid much attention to beer news or anything like that in general. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I went up to, like I said, if I go down to, I tell you what, I'm probably going to end up in Ocean Springs this weekend. So I'll probably check out one of the breweries down there. They might be doing a little something. I don't know, but we'll see. And
okay.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't really pay attention. I mean, like when I was in Baton Rouge, it was like Craft Beer Week. Craft Beer Week was a big deal. New Orleans, it was a big deal, but other cities in the area, not so much.
Right. No, I
guess Lafayette is kind of trending more towards it, but I'm not really in Louisiana these days, so I can't say much. But Lafayette has grown a bit as kind of a little bit of a beer area because you do have breweries opening up in that area now, and of course now Rick and Jack's is reopening in Lake Charles, so that could grow there. I don't know, but I haven't really kept up with Mississippi all that much.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So are you in the Mississippi area these days, or area, in the Mississippi side of things, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's cool. Now, and how would you? I mean, what is the difference in terms of Louisiana versus Mississippi as far as craft beer opportunity? Would you say there's a pretty stark divide between the two still, or?
There's still a divide. The big reason is Mississippi is still at the bottom as far as it comes to, at least if you're looking for craft beer in the state, because the ABV cap is just so low. Where 8% is the ABV cap in Mississippi, whereas in Louisiana there is no ABV cap. There just isn't there. So the downside to that is you have some breweries that are just not going to bother to distribute any of their beer to Mississippi because of it.
Now, just out of curiosity, are there distilleries in Mississippi?
I don't believe so.
Interesting.
They do have some in Louisiana, though. They have rum distilleries in Louisiana. That's that has come back in the last 8 years or so. Where like 10 years ago, they were actually a lot of conversations of building different distilleries, but really the last 10 years, distilling did come back in Louisiana, where you can. They had stuff in the planning stages. They built them, and now you have Louisiana rum again.
Okay, so
that's a thing.
So Mississippi, it sounds like it's definitely still a sort of a legal and cultural issue, or sort of like, you know what, that.
Yeah. Well, the problem is this is slowly changing, but the majority of counties in Mississippi are still dry. Now, like I said, that's part of the issue by itself. That is slowly changing because it's just becoming impossible to enforce. So it's just counties are just starting to go wet. And it's really, I don't see a lot of change happening until most of the state goes wet.
Right.
And you really would see a big change and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, well, some of these laws are ridiculous because they can just go to Alabama or they go to Louisiana and get this, and we're not getting this money.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's got to come down to. Is like a lot of revenue loss there.
Yep, because it really comes down to it. It's like, yeah, I mean, you don't really have these caps on wine, but you've got them on beer.
There you go.
That's kind of the problem there when you really look at it, because it's still one of those things where it's just a lot of these laws are just leftovers from Prohibition, and some of those laws are slowly being overturned over the years, but it's just really strange how that worked out, because Prohibition was just a really funny thing, because it really hit beer and liquor pretty hard. Wine did have some exemptions because it did have some religious uses. So you could, like I said, I mean, you like say, for example, with the Catholic faith, I mean, the unleavened bread and the wine is kind of essential to their sacrament of the Eucharist, so you can't exactly ban wine, because then you'd be infringing upon religious beliefs. And for some other religions, yeah, you still had use of wine, but yeah, it was kind of funny. Prohibition was a very funny time, and a lot of the stuff that came after Prohibition, where you still had before Prohibition, you did see a lot of beers that were brewed stronger. The weaker brewed beers are more of American brewed beers, more of a legacy of Prohibition than anything else. And then rationing from World War II was also part of it. That definitely did contribute, but a lot of it was post-Prohibition. A lot of it came out after Prohibition was not very strong. Was before Jim Cook was absolutely right. American beers were winning medals at European beer festivals.
Right.
We had a very very strong beer culture in the United States prior to Prohibition, but a lot of that was just incremental over time, where some states were just starting to go dry. But that's a completely different conversation topic. We can go on for more of an hour of me rambling about how much that was messed up.
Right. Well, rather than do that, we should probably figure out what the style next week is.
I was just going to say, we don't really have another hour, so...
Yeah, it's fun just hearing me ramble about history.
No, it's all right. It's always good to hear that stuff. It's I love that stuff. Unfortunately, my iPad is being funky. Oh, here we go. It's finally starting to work.
Woohoo!
So I was thinking of a style here. We've never done anything regarding this particular aspect of beer. What if we did something like 65 IBUs or higher?
Oh, there you go. I could do that.
That's a pretty broad one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that kind of opens it up and kind of gives you the chance to pay attention to it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a cool idea. Let's go with it.
Should we just add that and spin it, or should we just go with that?
That would be No,
Either
no, I'm
way.
not. No, that because then, yeah, Bigfoot does qualify, but I'm not doing a 5-year vertical of Bigfoot on a live hangout by myself. That's a high. That is just that would cease to be PG-13 in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
The first beer that comes to mind, I think I would probably do is 1050. That's actually, without knowing that for a while, it was brought up in a podcast that I listened to that beer is up there in IBUs, but you just don't recognize it as much because of the booziness and the
Mm-hmm.
everything elseness of it.
I might have to
Yeah.
track down a McKellar 1000 because I think they have like a 1000 IBU beer.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Can't really tell the difference.
Exactly. Once
Yeah,
you
exactly.
once you hit 100, it's like pretty much indistinguishable.
Yeah, it's 10 times beyond the threshold. It's awesome.
Yeah, you have some super tasters out there that can taste some of the higher ranges of IBUs, but eventually you get past those.
Yeah, no, we could go on all night about that topic too, but
Yeah, there's so many topics I can go on a lot about. But discussing, reviewing beer, I'm bored with it, so I don't really go on about that so much anymore.
makes sense.
All right, so 65 IBUs or higher. Anything else you want to add?
I'm trying to think. Well, what do we? Let's do the perennial question. What do we got on there?
All right, we've got triple, a Pilsner, a Saison, a Maibach, Kolsch, Schwarzbier, Belgian Strong Ale, off-centered IPA. That seems pretty distinct as far as who we're looking at there. I think what that means is just an IPA with an interesting ingredient involved.
Right.
Coffee beer, but not a stout. It has to be a different style other than a stout. Brett beer, and 65 IBUs or higher.
We actually have lagers on there. That's good.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a pseudo lager, the Kolsch. That was mine. The ale that is also a Kolsch is a good way to go for summer.
Yeah, it's technically an ale. It's just yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a pretty. Have we done brown ales in a long time?
I don't believe so, but I love brown ales, so I'm
Those are really good.
I'm
Let's
happy
do
with
that.
that.
I haven't had a brown ale in a while.
I had
Yeah.
La Folie last night, which is a sour brown, but
Nice. That's a good one.
it was so good. Brown ale. All right. Do we want anything else, or should we spin this?
Yeah, but that wheel can get loaded up in a hurry. Let's spin it.
Yeah, just spin it.
Go. Alright, I'll unplug this. Hopefully this doesn't die. It's about to.
Don't die.
Yeah, this thing is like at 5%, and it was like, I was trying to like get to the website earlier. Even with it plugged in, it was like, blah, and it just died.
It's like it had 5 beers.
Alright, I'm gonna spin this. Hopefully it works. Oh shit, it almost spilled my beer.
Go.
What do we land on here?
Nothing yet.
It says nothing?
No, it can't. No, it hasn't spun yet.
Saison.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes. And now it's finished. Yep.
Okay.
All right, I can deal with that.
Well, I'm down with that.
I was gonna say I know what you're bringing, unless
I don't
you
know if
decide
I'm gonna
otherwise.
I don't even know if I'm going to drink that one. I'm saving those for this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Last time we hit Saison, when I was doing these on a regular basis, I brought a beer called Cold Ass Honky. I think it's what I brought.
Nice.
Yeah. No, what episode did I bring that for? I can't remember now. I don't even remember what style that was now.
It was cold ass honky.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, I might not drink that beer because I might be saving those for my backyard this summer. My new backyard.
Yay!
I got to send one of those out to Skylar, though. I've got one in a box sitting here for like the last month, and I finally have the packing products for it, so I'm going to hopefully ship that out tomorrow or Friday.
You can start like pushing the beers as being pre-cellared pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I feel bad because I bought all those hoping them to be fresh, the like Chicago style beers, and he was actually just having some Chicago stuff. He actually had a 2014 Dark Lord. He said somebody sent to him, He was supposed to make the show tonight, actually, because he said he took the night off and was going to bring one of his own Goses to have for the show, but he must have either forgot or got a little busy this evening.
Yeah, busy. Yeah, because PG, that's technically a PG thing to say. Okay, all right, we're not PG-13 anymore.
We all know what Scott's doing tonight.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. We do this every Wednesday. If you're watching on YouTube after the fact, thanks for watching. We do this every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. As often and as regularly as we can. But you can watch us on YouTube on our channel, and you can get updates on Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus. And if you ever want to be on the show with us and discuss whatever we're discussing, feel free to join our circles. Just send me a request on Google Plus, and we'll add you to the. Just let me know you want to be added to the invite list, and we'll get you on. So thank you guys for joining again, and we will see you guys next week with some Saisons.
And congratulations again on the house.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.